For 6 years, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle insisted they had closed the door on royal life. They walked away from official duties, relocated to California, criticized the institution in interviews, documentaries, podcasts, and Prince Harry's memoir, and repeatedly argued that they needed distance from the royal family to build a happier, more independent future. But now, reports suggest the Sussexes could be looking back toward Britain. If these reports prove accurate, the question isn't simply whether Harry and Meghan want to spend more time in the UK. The bigger question is this: what changed? Today we're examining the latest claims, separating confirmed facts from speculation, and asking whether this represents reconciliation, or an acknowledgement that the promises of Megxit didn't unfold as expected. When Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back from royal duties in 2020, they presented it as a fresh beginning. The promise was straightforward: financial independence, freedom from royal constraints, greater privacy, the ability to shape their own careers while raising their family on their own terms. Supporters hailed the move as courageous. Critics questioned whether it could actually work. Over the years, the Sussexes signed lucrative commercial agreements, launched media projects, and remained among the world's most recognizable public figures. Yet many of those ventures have experienced changing fortunes, and public debate surrounding the couple has rarely disappeared. Now reports claim they're considering spending significantly more time in Britain. If that's true, it naturally raises questions about whether the original vision of Megxit has evolved, or whether reality has forced a reassessment. Much of the current speculation centers on reports that King Charles welcomed Harry, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet for a private family tea at Highgrove. While Buckingham Palace has not publicly detailed the meeting, several media outlets have reported that the gathering took place, making it one of the most talked about royal stories of recent weeks. If accurate, it represents something that many royal watchers thought might still be years away: a quiet family reunion away from television cameras, press conferences, or carefully orchestrated public appearances. Unlike the dramatic headlines that have defined the relationship between the Sussexes and the royal family over the past several years, this reported meeting paints a very different picture. Instead of confrontation, there are reports of conversation. Instead of public accusations, there appears to have been a willingness to sit down as a family. That alone marks a noticeable shift from the atmosphere that followed the Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary, and Prince Harry's memoir. For King Charles, extending an invitation to his son and grandchildren would be consistent with the role many expect of a father and grandfather. Whatever disagreements may exist behind palace walls, family relationships often carry a different weight than public disputes. If these reports are accurate, the king appears to recognize that preserving family connections is important, even after years of tension. That approach also reflects the royal family's long-standing preference for handling sensitive personal matters privately rather than through public exchanges. For Harry and Meghan, however, the reunion creates a more complicated narrative. For years they argued that stepping away from royal life was necessary for their well-being and their future. They described the institution as deeply challenging and spoke openly about painful experiences that influenced their decision to leave. Against that backdrop, any effort to rebuild closer relationships naturally raises questions. Viewers may wonder what has changed. Has the institution changed? Have personal priorities shifted? Or has time simply softened positions that once seemed impossible to reconcile? Perhaps the most striking aspect of the reported reunion is what did happen. There were no televised interviews afterward, no public statements criticizing family members, and no immediate attempts to turn a private gathering into another media event. Whether by design or coincidence, that silence has been welcomed by many who believe reconciliation, if it is to succeed, must happen quietly rather than under the constant spotlight of global media. Whatever the answers may be, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The conversation surrounding Harry and Meghan appears to be entering a new phase. Rather than asking whether reconciliation is possible, many observers are now asking what reconciliation would actually look like, and whether both sides are genuinely prepared to move forward. One of the most widely discussed aspects of the recent reports is the suggestion, attributed to unnamed sources, that Prince Harry has begun feeling less settled in the United States. While these claims remain unverified, they have sparked renewed debate because they touch on one of the central promises of Megxit, that leaving Britain would allow Harry and Meghan to build a happier, more independent future. When the couple relocated to California, the move symbolized a fresh beginning. They signed high-profile commercial agreements, launched media projects, and presented themselves as independent public figures no longer tied to the day-to-day responsibilities of the monarchy. For a time, that strategy appeared to offer enormous opportunities. Their story attracted worldwide attention, and their projects generated significant public interest. But building a long-term public brand is very different from making a dramatic entrance. As the years have passed, some projects have ended, others have evolved, and public reactions have become increasingly mixed. Success in entertainment and media depends on constant reinvention, and maintaining public enthusiasm is often more difficult than generating it in the first place. That changing landscape has inevitably fueled speculation about whether the Sussexes are reassessing their future. If reports suggesting more time in Britain are accurate, some commentators will argue that it reflects changing priorities rather than changing principles. Others may see it as a practical decision driven by family rather than public image. Both interpretations are possible because neither Harry nor Meghan has publicly outlined any long-term plan. Critics, however, point to another reality that has become increasingly difficult to ignore. Much of the global fascination surrounding Harry and Meghan has always been connected to their place within the royal family. Even after stepping away from official duties, discussions about the couple continue to revolve around their relationship with the monarchy. Their royal identity remains central to the public conversation, whether they embrace it or not. That doesn't necessarily mean Megxit failed. It does suggest, however, that complete separation from the institution may never have been as straightforward as many imagined. Family ties, history, and public expectations have a way of following people, especially when they belong to one of the world's most famous royal families. If Harry is indeed looking more frequently toward Britain, it may simply reflect an understanding that some parts of his identity cannot be left behind. Geography can change, careers can evolve, but family history is much harder to rewrite. If reports of closer family contact continue, the biggest challenge may not be arranging meetings or planning future visits. The real challenge is rebuilding trust after years of public disagreement. Trust, once damaged, takes far longer to restore than headlines often suggest. Since stepping back from royal duties, Harry and Meghan have publicly shared deeply personal grievances through interviews, documentaries, podcasts, and Prince Harry's memoir. Those projects gave audiences around the world unprecedented insight into private family tensions, but they also left lasting questions about confidentiality and discretion. From the perspective of many royal supporters, one of the monarchy's defining characteristics has been its determination to avoid responding publicly to every criticism. While individual members of the royal family undoubtedly experienced those years differently, the institution itself largely maintained its policy of saying very little. That contrast has shaped public perceptions, with some praising the palace's restraint, while others wished for greater transparency. If reconciliation is genuinely underway, both sides will likely understand that rebuilding confidence requires far more than a single pleasant meeting. Family relationships are strengthened by consistency, reliability, and mutual respect over time. One successful visit may open the door, but it cannot erase years of misunderstanding overnight. For Harry and Meghan, future actions may carry greater weight than future interviews. Choosing private conversations over public commentary could help demonstrate that relationships are becoming more important than headlines. Likewise, for the royal family, continued willingness to welcome family members while maintaining dignity would reinforce the image of stability that has long been central to the institution. History shows that many families experience periods of conflict before eventually finding common ground. The difference for the royal family is that every disagreement unfolds under the scrutiny of millions of people around the world. That level of attention makes genuine reconciliation considerably more difficult, but not impossible. Ultimately, trust cannot be demanded. It has to be earned gradually through patience, discretion, and a shared commitment to moving forward rather than revisiting every disagreement of the past. Despite the dramatic headlines, it is important to separate speculation from confirmed facts. At the time of this discussion, there has been no official announcement that Harry and Meghan intend to move permanently back to Britain or resume official royal duties. Much of the reporting instead points towards something more measured, spending additional time in the UK, maintaining stronger family connections, and giving Archie and Lilibet more opportunities to know their British relatives. Even without an official relocation, the symbolism is difficult to overlook. 6 years ago, the Sussexes presented their departure as the beginning of a completely different life. Today, if reports prove accurate, they appear to be exploring ways to reconnect with the very country and family they once chose to leave behind. That doesn't necessarily mean they are abandoning everything they said in 2020. People's priorities change as their lives evolve. Children grow older, parents age, and family relationships often become more important with time. Those realities affect every family, whether they live in a palace or an ordinary home. At the same time, public decisions naturally invite public scrutiny. Many viewers will remember the confident declarations made during the early days of Megxit and compare them with today's reports of renewed interest in Britain. Some will interpret this as personal growth and reconciliation. Others will see it as evidence that independence outside the royal family has proven more complicated than originally anticipated. Whatever conclusion people reach, one lesson stands out. Major life choices rarely produce simple endings. They create new opportunities, new challenges, and sometimes unexpected reasons to reconsider earlier decisions. The Sussex story appears to illustrate exactly that. If Harry and Meghan are genuinely laying the groundwork for a future that includes stronger ties with Britain, they may discover that returning geographically is the easiest part of the journey. Rebuilding confidence, repairing relationships, and convincing a skeptical public that this new chapter is built on lasting commitment rather than changing circumstances will require time, consistency, and patience. Only the months ahead will reveal whether this is the beginning of a lasting reconciliation or simply another chapter in one of the most closely followed royal stories of the modern era. Only Harry and Meghan know what their long-term plans truly are, and much of the current reporting remains based on unnamed sources rather than official confirmation. But if they are genuinely seeking closer ties with Britain and the royal family, it would mark one of the most significant developments since Megxit. The coming months may reveal whether this is simply another round of speculation, or the beginning of a new chapter in one of the most closely watched family stories in the world. What do you think? Is this the natural evolution of a family healing old wounds? Or does it suggest that the Sussexes are reconsidering choices they once defended so passionately? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this commentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next discussion on the latest royal developments.